What's going on, family? This is Scrapbook Boxing Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. I'm going to continue with my African American fight series with a fighter by the name of Percy Bassett. Now, Percy Bassett was a featherweight who was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He was originally from Virginia, but he was actually raised in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, in 1928. Now, I know BoxRec has him listed as 1930, but through further research, I have about 50 different record books. They all collaborate with 1928, so we will be going with 1928 for Percy Bassett. He stood 5'5". He was a very good fighter with two hands. He was an orthodox fighter. He fought a fighter by the name of Charlie Gabby Lewis. Now, Charlie Gabby Lewis was the younger brother of John Henry Lewis. John Henry Lewis was a light heavyweight champion, took the title away from Bob Olin in 1935. He lost it in 1939 through no fault of his own, just through a doctor's discretion of an Ivers. He would fight Cisco Andrea, 20-0. He would lose to Cisco Andrea, but he was an up-and-coming fighter, very swift with his feet, and I can understand that loss. He would face Orlando Zulueta. Now, Orlando Zulueta was a veteran fighter who had 52 fights and 19 at the time that Percy Bassett would face him. And you have to understand, when you have fighters like that, they're witty, they had a lot of sparring, a lot of fights, and they know the tricks of the trade, so I can understand that loss as well. He would face Teddy Red Top Davis once again. He would lose to him, but look at the record that Teddy Red Top Davis would have, 62-50. And you're looking at a fighter who, you know, is well over 122 fights, 112 fights or so. And we're looking at experience there. David Gallardo, 51-17. He would defeat David Gallardo. David Gallardo fought out of the West Coast in the Olympic Auditorium. He fought the who's who of boxing at that time. Charlie Riley. Charlie Riley was a very good fighter. He used to fight in an orthodox position, but he would switch southpaw. He would move from side to side, move his head. Very, very crafty fighter. Very crafty fighter. A lot of experience. 65-22 at the time that he would face him. And he would win one and lose one. Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter was a three-time lightweight champion. Very experienced fighter. He took the title away from Mike Williams. And he would lose to several fighters, but he was a very good and accomplished lightweight champion. He would lose one and win one to Jimmy Carter. So let's take a look at Percy Bassett's fight career. Now, as you can see here, Percy Bassett, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania featherweight, they have him listed as 1928. But he began his professional career in 1947, July 31st. And as you can see here, he has knockouts, wins, knockouts, wins. All victories up to this point. He would face Tony Coco in Philadelphia, defeat him in 6 rounds on November 11th, 1947. 1948, he had a very good year, as you can see. Only one loss at the end of 1948. He would face a fighter by the name of Brown Lee in Atlantic City. He would lose to him in 8 rounds on December 23rd, 1948. But in between that time, you would see he would defeat Brown Lee in Philadelphia, and he would defeat him in 6 rounds on July 22nd, 1948. He would fight Ray Jones, April 29th, Atlantic City, defeat him in 8 rounds. Jimmy Parlin, who faced him twice, February 5th and February 19th, both in Atlantic City. One was a 7-round KO, and the other one was an 8-round victory. Billy Gillard, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He would knock him out in 4 rounds, September 28th, 1948. He would face Bobby Bell. November 23rd, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He would knock him out in 7 rounds. Now, I talked about Bobby Bell when I did the Tommy Bell profile. Bobby Bell was the younger brother of Tommy Bell. They were very good fighters. They were from Youngtown, Ohio. But Percy Bassett would get the victory. So salute to him. He would face Reuben Davis, October 14th, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He would knock him out in 5 rounds. Billy Gillard, another good fighter, September 28th, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He would knock him out in 4 rounds. A lot of these fighters you are not going to hear of. Their records are not easy to find. I have all their records, all their profiles, and I can assure you they were very good fighters. 1949, January 31st, he would fight Brownlee once again in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He would defeat him in 10 rounds. February 28th, 1949, he would face Lou Jenkins, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He would defeat him in 10 rounds. Now, Lou Jenkins took the title away, the lightweight championship away from Lou Ambers. And he was a very, very good fighter, was Lou Jenkins. Very well experienced. And you can see here, Percy Bassett was able to defeat Lou Jenkins in 1949 10-round victory for for Percy Bassett, excuse me. So salute to him. And as we move down the line of 1949, you can see Danny Webb. Now, Danny Webb was a good fighter. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He would knock him out in 6 rounds. November 10th. Aaron Joshua. He was a fair fighter. Mostly spent a lot of time in the gym. December 8th, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Knock him out in 3 rounds. Now, a lot of these fighters were what they call swing fighters. They would be on swing bouts. In case a fight ended early, they would have an available person on hand to fulfill the card. A fighter got sick or he got cut, even before he even started fighting, they can fill him in. So these are a lot of names that I'm seeing here, swing fighters. I know that because I know their careers. Orlando Zulueta, 1950, March 2nd, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He would defeat him in 10 rounds. Orlando Zulueta was a Cuban fighter, very experienced. I had mentioned him once before. I think he had a record at the time of 52-19 when he faced Percy Bassett. He would face him again, Orlando Zulueta, July 29th. Havana, Cuba. Like I said, he was from Cuba. He would defeat him in 10 rounds in his hometown. Miguel Adevado, Havana, would knock him out in 3 rounds. So he did work while he was in Cuba before he came back to New York. December 20th, Sonny Boy West. He was a good fighter. He would knock him out in 7 rounds. 1951, January 4th. He would face Teddy Red Top Davis, Washington. He would defeat him in 10 rounds. Teddy Red Top Davis was a very, very good fighter. He fought Sandy Salah, among others. And he had a lot of experience. January 30th, Howard Dad, another good fighter. He would become champion. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He would knock him out in 8 rounds. February 7th, he would face Jimmy Carter. As I said, Jimmy Carter was a 3-time lightweight champion out of New York. And he would lose to Jimmy Carter. He would face Jimmy Carter once again on March 5th, 1951, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And this time he would defeat Jimmy Carter, 10-round victory. And this is very common. Fighters fought so often that they're going to have off nights. May 7th, Charlie Riley. Charlie Riley, like I said once before, he was a swift fighter, very swift. Moved his head a lot, moved his foot a lot. Never stopped throwing punches. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, he would be knocked out in 4 rounds. He would face Charlie Riley once again, June 25th, 1951, St. Louis, Missouri, and he would be knocked out himself in 2 rounds. 1952, as you can see here, Ray Powell, Allentown, Pennsylvania, he would knock him out in 1 round. Federico Plummer, Panama City, he would get a turnaround draw. He would face Teddy Red Top Davis again on October 20th, 1952, in Brooklyn, New York, and he would have a 10-round loss against Teddy Red Top Davis. Red Top Davis had a lot of experience. At that time, I believe he had a 62-50 fight career. A lot of experience at that time. Charlie Riley, Washington, defeated him in 10 rounds. And Teddy Red Top Davis once again, but this time in Philadelphia, he would defeat him in 10 rounds. Now, I'm not saying that's home cooker, because Percy Bassett was from Philadelphia. He didn't defeat him before in Brooklyn or New York, but he defeated him in Philadelphia. And, it's hard to tell when you see records what actually happened. But, fortunately for me, I have articles on all these fights, all these fighters. And, based on the articles that I read, I can kind of understand what took place. This was November 17th, 1952, the Teddy Red Top Davis Philadelphia fight. And so I just want to pay homage to Percy Bassett, who was a phenomenal fighter, very good featherweight champion. Actually, not a champion. I'm calling him a champion. He was a very good featherweight out of Philadelphia. And he sparred a lot with Sally Sadler, among others. And he brought a lot to the table. He fought Davey Gallardo, Bobby Bell, Charlie Riley, Jimmy Carter, Orlando Zulueta. I'm just trying to think, just to name a few. So salute to Percy Bassett, good fighter. I want to continue with the African American fight series. Again, you're not hearing a lot about these fighters. So I want to pay homage to them. They deserve it. They put their work in the gym. They put their work in the ring. And they were crowd pleasers. They may not have been the top fighters of the game, but they would give you a fight. And as you can see, they won a lot of fights. They lost some fights. And they put their time in the ring. So salute to these fighters. This is Scrapbook Boxing Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Salute to all my subscribers. One love. Peace.